So I'm Matt Brown. I'm the complex manager for the San Francisco Bay National Wildlife Refuge Complex, which is made up of the 7 refuges of the San Francisco Bay area, of which Don Edwards San Francisco Bay National Wildlife Refuge is one of them. The last position I held, I was the superintendent for Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument. That is the largest protected area under United States jurisdiction, almost 580,000 square miles. And it contains 80% of the United States coral reefs, massive seabird colonies, incredible uncharted depths in the ocean. So it's just this overwhelming natural and cultural resources to the Hawaiian people. But there's no people, right? Parts of it are 1,200 miles from the main Hawaiian islands. There's no visitors who go there, only researchers and biologists and cultural practitioners. And so you have this incredible natural resource you're protecting, but you don't have any community to engage with. And the threats to Papahanaumokuakea are the same threats that impact Don Edwards San Francisco Bay National Wildlife Refuge. It's rising sea levels, it's acidification, it's changing climate, changing weather patterns, which impacts the birds and the fish and the coral and the salt marsh harvest mouse and the ridgeways rail and the least terns. And so the threats are becoming more universal across the board. But here, we are surrounded by 8 million people. And if those 8 million people care about the work we're doing at Don Edwards, if those 8 million people are inspired into action, not only will their actions help protect and restore Don Edwards, but they'll help and protect and restore places like Papahanaumokuakea. And so that's really, it's been a real eye-opener for me to see that the same solutions that are required here are required there in vast stretches of open and untouched ocean, because the threats are the same. So the success we see in connecting with the community, we see in 1,000 small stories of success. We work with Lincoln Elementary School here in Newark, California, adjacent to Don Edwards San Francisco Bay National Wildlife Refuge. And we brought those school kids over to do a small restoration project, right? To clear a small trail, pointed out some of the weeds, talked about how the habitat was important for endangered species. And then a few weeks later, we went to a community science event at that local park. And it was inspiring to not just see the kids run up to Ranger Miguel and Ranger Tia because they remembered working with them, but then to see those kids grab their parents' hands and walk them out onto the refuge to talk about how this was their land, that they had protected this trail, that this plant was important for that endangered species. And it's that sense of ownership that these kids now recognize this as their land and that they care about its future. And you repeat that over and over and over again. And so you see people taking the information we're providing, seeing the stories that we're trying to tell, and then shaping it into their own. And that's really the success story that replicates itself in a new way over and over again. I hope that we can tell a story. I hope that we can tell a story that the communities here that surround the 7 refuges of the San Francisco Bay Complex have been inspired to take action to protect their natural resources. And if we can tell the story here of the work of Florence, of the Citizens Committee, and how activism can save special places, we can inspire that next generation that has a much more global challenge in front of them. And that's really the gift we have. There's more people that we can touch here than any other national wildlife refuge. You know, in this time, one person can have such an impact through social media, through the megaphones that we all have in our hands. And so it really gives each of us an opportunity to not just act locally, to act globally. And when I see the kids that come through the education programs here, we meet at community meetings, that's where I gain hope.